of West Valley City Hall. We have all members of the council present. We have Councilman Whetstone on Zoom, Councilman Fitzmanu, Councilman Harmon, Councilman Hoon, Councilman Christensen, Councilman Norfelt, and myself, Mayor. We are also joined on the dais with Mr. Pyle, our city manager, and Ms. Kamick, our city recorder. The opening ceremony is my privilege tonight, so if you would all please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight, for our special recognition, we would like to recognize the members of our hometown my hometown that has made it so successful. With us tonight are all the volunteers. Well, a lot of the volunteers. If we had them all, the room's not even extended, it's not big enough. Volunteers, community leaders, and others who are involved in the My Hometown program. What started 3 years ago as a one-of-a-kind in the world, you really have to grasp that word, in the world program, has grown to become a widely successful because of those who are in the room with us tonight. You as a community have proudly decided what you want your neighborhoods to be, and you have worked tirelessly to beautify, solidify, and bring strength to yourselves, your friends, and your neighbors. We as a council have watched in awe of you, and we have been blessed to be with you and to participate in this great program. We thank you, and the community as a whole thanks you. We look forward with you to a bright future for our amazing city. Thank you again for being here. We would invite you to convene outside in the lobby. They've got great desserts and drinks for you. And I want to go off script and just thank you for your hard work. At these events, I've had so many of the volunteers come up to me and say how much they appreciate the opportunity to be part of this program. And that melts my heart every time somebody walks up to me and tells me that. The love that I see in your faces for our residents and the compassion and just the helpful, it's just been amazing. And it's such a great program. There are literally people lined up now to have this in their neighborhoods. It's so successful because of your hard work and organization that it's just going to take off all of Utah and probably around the world eventually. So I want you to know from my heart and from the council and our staff, which our staff has been incredible to back you up. They've had the equipment for you, the manpower you needed, but I just want to thank you for all that you've done. And I hope you will appreciate our little small token of appreciation with the cookies and drinks and the little favors out in the lobby.
Mayor, if I may take just a second.
You may.
We had one statistic in our report from staff today in our study meeting that stuck with me. The volunteer hours, if they were translated into employment hours at $30 an hour, which is a common starting wage these days, you have volunteered and donated $1.5 million worth of service to your areas this last year. Think about that. That's an amazing result. But it's what happens when you get volunteers together. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so we'll excuse you and then we'll go, unless you want to sit around, but we'll do our business and then we'll come out and mingle with you if that's all right.
Can we give you a round of applause?
Oh.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's my only goal. Okay, we'll now proceed with our usual items. We have the approval of our minutes. I will turn it to the council. We have the minutes of November 1st, 2022 and November 8th, 2022.
I move for approval of the November 1st and November 8th minutes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go to our awards and proclamations, and we have a proclamation declaring November 19th as World Suicide Prevention Day in West Valley City. And we'll ask Councilman Hoon to read that for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A proclamation declared November 19 as the World Suicide Prevention Day in West Valley City. Whereas suicide, the 12 leading cause of death in the United States, the third leading cause of death among children and teens ages 10 through 19, and the second leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 20 to 34. And whereas in the United States, more than 47,646 people died by suicide in 2021, an increase of 4% since 2020. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that in 2020, there were 1.2 million suicide attempts, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas in 2021, suicide was the ninth leading cause of death in Utah, with 633 deaths by suicide in Utah. And whereas suicide is preventable when bystanders recognize the warnings signs of suicide and know where to get help. And whereas We Support Utah's Live On campaign, a statewide effort to prevent suicide by promoting education, providing resources, and changing culture around suicide and mental health. And whereas organizations such as the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention are also dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide through research, education, advocacy, and resources for those who have lost someone to suicide and who struggle. And whereas the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is sponsoring in partnership with the West Valley City and Healthy West Valley City Coalition, an opportunity for residents and those in surrounding area to promote healing and connection regarding the difficulties of suicide loss in an event on November 19, 2022, entitled Survivors of Suicide Loss Day. And whereas the mayor and city council of West Valley City do hereby determine that it is essential for all citizens of West Valley City to be aware of the importance of mental health education and resources for the well-being of themselves and those around them in the city. And now, therefore, the mayor and the city council of West Valley City do hereby proclaim November 19, 2022 as the World Suicide Prevention Day in West Valley City.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we will now accept public comment. The public comment period is limited to 30 minutes. Any person wishing to comment shall limit their comments to 5 minutes each. Upon recognition by the mayor, you will approach the microphone. If you did not sign up, please give your name and address. Otherwise, just your name. All comments shall be directed to the mayor. No person addressing the city council during the comment period shall be allowed to comment more than once during the comment period. Speakers should not expect a debate with the mayor, council, and staff. This is your 5 minutes to speak, and we can respond at the end of the 30 minutes. So we will move on to speaker one.
My name is Lawrence Horman. I was here last week because I did not understand what was going on last week.
If you'll just give them to Ms. Kamic, she'll pass them around.
Okay. Since there is one council member missing, 2 council members who already have it,
Okay,
I believe I have sufficient
okay, thank you.
copies, but one will be need to be made for the missing member. My name is Lawrence Horman. My address is, as I typically say at such meetings, where I am standing. I give that particular response to the question because I am here to advocate for the homeless, and depending on your perspective, I am homeless. I say depending on your perspective because I am one of the few people who can quite literally say, and if you haven't seen the picture, you won't get the joke, but I am semi-homeless. There's any number of things I can talk about, but the 2 things I want to get across without fail is that homelessness is a problem that can be solved, but it has no single solution. It has to, however, include housing first, or the problem will not change. And it has to include continuing supportive services. And on that note, I just found out a friend of mine in another state is going to lose their housing because they weren't told in advance that their program only lasted a certain amount of time. And if they don't get Section 8 housing to help in the meantime, they will lose where they are at. This is one of the reasons why the homeless seem to be what is termed assistance resistant, because they know the programs, they never get all the information, they never get told stuff in time. They go into a program, they go through the program, and then they end up coming back out because they don't get the help they need. And this is why continuing supportive services needs to be a thing. It can't be 30, 60, 90 days. It has to be until it is solved for the individual. There is no single solution to homelessness, but it is a problem that can be solved on the state level. The state does the funding. The counties have influence. The cities, however, are where the groundwork is done. Without city approval, nothing gets done because the states and the counties don't want to interfere. And I can understand that because we are people, we are a government by, for, and of the people. We start from the ground up, unlike other countries where they start from the top down. So it's our responsibility at the ground level to do the work that needs to be done, to make the approvals, to interpret our laws and ordinances that already exist in a way that helps out, to make new laws and get rid of old ones that criminalize homelessness, or to make new laws that help out those who are homeless to become self-sustaining wherever possible, and to get rid of old laws that criminalize homelessness just for the sake of you were sitting in some place where everybody else is allowed to sit, but we think you're homeless, so now you can't be there anymore. Homelessness is not a problem for a single city. It is not for a single county, a single state, or a single country. It's world pervasive, and I am not bragging when I say I am in contact with people worldwide who suffer with these same issues. It won't be solved on a national level. It has to be solved locally. And until the local people get into it and work at it with and allow for the homeless to have we don't want you to give into our pride. Nobody can use that to solve a problem. We want you to give us dignity. We want respect, and we want help. We didn't get to be homeless all on our own, and we won't be housed without help. There's just no two ways about it. The homeless resource centers that were put up a few years back, they help, but they're not the final solution. The converted hotels will help, but they're not a final solution. The push that's going on right now for an authorized campground will make a difference, but it also is not a final solution. There's no one single solution. You've got people who are homeless who have been doctors and lawyers, as well as truck drivers, drug addicts, and people with mental health issues. But those people that are have genuine criminal activity, drug addicts and mental health issues and other things that go on, are at roughly the same percentages as those people who are housed with those problems. The difference is that without walls, you advertise your problems more than with them. That's the difference between the housed and the homeless. And so we need to stop looking at it as them and us. We're all people, we're all human beings, and we need to help each other. If we don't, there's not a one of us that isn't an inch away from becoming homeless ourselves. And if the help isn't there now, it won't be then.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, speaker 2.
Evening, Miles Wynn, 2766 West, 2890 South, 84111. Although I did write it down this time. So yeah, I don't need to say that, do I? I'm wasting my own time. I thought it was too good to be true to see such large attendance. You know, they don't want to hear this. No, I'm just joking. Bad joke. Just the two things I'm following up on, I've mentioned in the past, so I'm a broken record at this point, but speed study on my block still hasn't been completed, or at least if it has, it's very stealthy and I haven't seen it. But it's just, even like with the weather changing, I'm still noticing people driving crazy down my block and throughout the neighborhood in general. Again, I know it's not just isolated to my block. Like, I drive around West Valley on a regular basis. I walk my dog around my neighborhood on a regular basis, and people just drive like they don't care. And I think it's just, again, one of those things where it's like, are we going to wait for something bad to happen, which I would hate to see. So yeah, just kind of want to keep beating that dead horse. And then the other thing is, a couple weeks ago, I sent an email to Nicole Camlick about that tree up by Franklin Covey. And that still hasn't been trimmed. And like the other day, I was in a little bit of a hurry, and it's wild how that light just kind of creeps up on you when you're coming around the bend there with that tree overhanging. So it's just kind of, yeah, dangerous, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like I should figure something else to say for this 3 minutes and 36 seconds, but I won't. That's all right.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah.
thank you. Speaker 3.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, Jim Visock. I want to start with tonight about the My Hometown Youth Friendship Dinner we just had. We just had the My Hometown representatives. They're not just helping adults, they're helping youth. And we're into our second youth council. And this one, we're doing specialized training with them, bringing in speakers. They are running their events with the assistance of the adults. But they're pretty much doing it on their own, and it's given them great leadership skills. And to see these young 14, 15, 16-year-old young men and women step up and take that active role in their community is great, because if you get the youth, you have the adults. So the Veterans Dinner we had the other night, once again, another good turnout, a good meal. It was a fun event to be at. It was good to see some of the 90+ veterans from last year that are still with us. Some of the World War II, you know, there's not many of them left. Code enforcement, in the last 2 weeks, I've had several people reach out to me and complaining that they feel that they're being picked and bullied on. I go out to their property and look at it. And the first thing as I drive by, I'm like, okay, what caught the code enforcement person's eye? So, and then I go talk to the resident, and they're like, well, that wasn't on there. That wasn't on there. They're here for my fence. They're here because I took pots out of my yard. They're here because they say the percentage. I know we're working on code enforcement, but every time I hear the picking on and bullying, it's a common thing. I won't name the couple code enforcement specialist, but it's the same names that come up all the time on these two. And I know residents are reaching out to you, they're reaching out to me, and I actually go out there and drive and try and look. And then I'll talk to the owner. To be honest, he or she could have hit you for this object, this one too. And they're like, well, they didn't. They hit me for this and this. And I'm like, okay, well, let's get it fixed. But once again, it's an interpretation when it comes to fences. When the rest of the neighborhood has fences that are the same, it's just not just a different color. I don't understand what the code enforcement officer specialist saw that red flagged him to that property. And once again, I think it's a training issue. And, for the last 4 years, it's been a training issue. And, we have there's veterans out there and veteran code enforcement people out there, and they keep the same complaints keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And Mr. Markham talks about, well, there's two sides to the stories and stuff. But when you actually go out there and look at the properties, and I know Mr. Pyle has gone out several times and driven some of the neighborhoods too. When you actually see there is, they have a legitimate gripe on why was I targeted when the same thing is going on around me and nothing is being done. And when they threaten to take people's home, that just irritates me to death, because we'll never take anybody's home. We might stick a big fine on it in the future, but we'll never take anybody's home. And they've got to stop using that as a bullying threat technique. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Speaker 4.
Hello, my name is Richard Nowak. I'm also a resident of Chesterfield. I've been up here before. I think Jim was just talking about city ordinance, and I think I have the same type of concerns as when they come out. I'm not scared to mention the name was Brendan Grimes. So when he first came out, he only gave me 16 days. And I said, that's not enough time with the amount of violations I had. He said he was not going to give me an extension, so my only choice was to file for a hearing. So I filed for a hearing, and being a member of the church, I invited the missionaries, and there was a person from hometown. They are a great set of folks. I've seen them work. They do great work. So I think really hometown should probably be more involved, because as I move through this issue with Mr. Grimes, I know officers are supposed to serve and protect. I'm reluctant to use that word because I feel harassed. And many of my neighbors did. I've actually took me less than an hour to get 11 signatures on a petition right there on my very same street, which I have copies of when I give out to you. But I think that we do need some regulation, because one of the issues was my fence. It's been there for 30 years. Actually, I asked the city and the recorder, they couldn't find anything, but I did find a building permit from 1995. Which suggests that the fence is 27 years old, and it's never been a problem and never been changed. So all my neighbors that signed this said that they don't have an issue with it. Grimes never once took out a ruler or a tape measure to actually measure it, because everybody else's opinion is it was in compliance. Even one of your council members had looked at it at one time. Some of my other issues was with the building. And once I voluntarily asked him to come and inspect the property, re-inspect, he said, well, the first thing I'm going to do in an abatement is tear down that building, which was when my chicken coops. So a month earlier, that wasn't a problem. And now all of a sudden it is. My first violation was originally a kitchen building that I do have permits for. That's 37 inches from the home. He said it was too close. There again, he never took out a tape measure. So I just think ordinance needs to have a set of protocols to actually do these enforcements, because I really believe he took his personal opinions and applied them to charging me with violations. And he also never offered. So what I did about the building I wanted to tear down is by myself going out and searching around, I found, well, I can apply with planning and zoning. I get a permit on it. I can either repair it, or if it's not good, I can have it disassembled. But he never offered that type of information. He never offered, I just happened to know who Hometown was, but he could have suggested that. So people, when people get violations and it's something that Hometown can get involved in to help cure these types of violations, I think that should be a suggestion. So your ordinance officers, they say, hey, this, you've got too much agriculture debris or tree branches. Here's a contact. Call these people at Hometown, then they can come out and help you and get you into compliance. So most all of my conversations, I didn't get any customer service is what I might call it. So, you know, I like that. I completely understand the purpose of ordinance is to keep the community safe. You know, I don't want to walk across my neighbor's easement and step on broken glass or get pricked by noxious weeds or maybe attacked by their dog. So in effect, the fence that I've disassembled it now is not able to keep the animals that I keep on the property. I've had to move them into different areas. So yeah, basically I'll hand these to Nicole. You can hand these out and pass these out. So each page is individually signed by a resident that's on Parkway. There's 2 of them I omitted, I think just the last paragraph because they didn't want to go to the extent of saying they're being harassed. So, but it is a personal opinion, and I work in customer service as a nonprofit. So I talk to people from other areas of West Valley, and they don't seem to feel that they're treated well either. So it's not just myself or my street. So I'm hoping that you can work with trying to rebuild city ordinance and make it a more customer friendly experience, even though if you're in violation, yes, you need to fix something, but there should be better ways of making those things accomplished without causing irritation or anxieties. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now turn the time to Mr. Pyle. Did you have any need for comment?
Thanks, ma'am. No.
Okay, and to the council, any comments?
Yeah, I have one, just small one. Just recently, I went to church and then just regarding the case of Preacher Nowak here, and a couple missionaries, Service missionary, they tapped in my shoulder and told me, Tom, I want to talk to you a second. He says, sure. And then and they pull out. I said, well, Tom, I'm sorry to say this, but I think it's the city to picking on Richard. The fence he has right there is you can see clearly through other side, but other neighbor, the wire, I mean the grass and other things basically cover the fence. Cannot see through the fence, but they had no problem, and but Richard has a problem. And another person, I won't tell the name, representative. And we ran into the event together, and she says, well, Tom, I don't know what's going on with city with the co-enforcement, but everywhere I go, just tell you, I'll let you know that people really, really complaining about your co-enforcement in your city, and you guys have to do something about it. So when I heard that multiple sources, different kind of management, different kind of groups of people, and from people in my district, people in a second district, people other district, and also people from my hometown, and people from representing us here in this city. Very much, they're saying the same thing, very similar. That make me I'm very deeply concerned about this, to be honest with you. So, so I want to share with you, and I'm very concerned about this matter. So the case of Richard Nowak right there is those people helping him out for that, and they came and they talked to me about it. It didn't really concern me. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to our public hearing. We have application GPZ 8 2022. I'll turn it over to Mr. Pyle.
Thanks, ma'am. This is a application by Brian and Chantel Bradford for a subdivision, 3-lot subdivision at 3816 South, 3200 West, 0.69 acres. And on that lot, there's an existing home and they'd like to divide the property up into 3 lots. Council's considered this on a couple of previous occasions. And there are 3 items that you would be considering: an amendment to the general plan, an amendment to the zoning map, and a authorization to enter into a development agreement associated with the property.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll now open the public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to it? Bless you. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and I'll turn it to the council. Our first item of action is ordinance 22-39. And while they pause, I will let you know that we have studied this application 2 different times in study session. So that's probably why there's a lack of conversation.
Motion to approve ordinance 22-39.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We'll turn the time to Ms. Kamic for a roll call vote.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Whitstone.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
and Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We now have action item ordinance 22-40, which is the amend the zoning map. And I'll turn it to the council for discussion or a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 22-40.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Kamic.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon.
Yes.
Councilman Whitstone.
Yes.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
And Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. And then our last consideration is resolution 22-151, which is the development agreement. I'll turn it to the council for discussion or a motion.
Motion to approve resolution 22-151.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Kamic.
Councilman Fitzie Umanu.
Aye.
Councilman Whitstone.
Yes.
Councilman Harmon.
Yes.
Councilman Hune.
Aye.
Councilman Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Nordfelt.
Yes.
And Mayor Ling.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We do not have a need for a closed session, so we just have one more action item.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you so much for coming out.